Welcome, Noiristas, to the last Noir Alley of 2019. I'm Father Time, a.k.a. Eddie Muller, and I have a very special show for you today. We are going to celebrate New Year's a bit early with a film that opens significantly on New Year's Eve. It's repeat performance made by Eagle Lion Films in 1947. Making the occasion even more special is that in the 25-year history of Turner Classic Movies, this is the first time repeat performance has been shown. Not that the film is forgotten, especially by those who saw it on its initial release. In my avocation as a noircheologist, digging up obscure and neglected examples of film noir, this is probably the lost film I've been asked about more than any other. And there's two reasons for that. First, it's got a hook that's a real grabber, one that nudges the film from the crime genre into the realm of the supernatural. On New Year's Eve, something dreadful happens to Broadway actress Sheila Page, something that will surely destroy her life. But a mysterious warp in time allows Sheila to relive the previous year with the hope that her repeat performance will have a different ending. I've often called this a noir variation of It's a Wonderful Life. Now, the other reason people ask about this film is that it had seemingly vanished. For decades, the movie was only a memory in people's minds, and folks began thinking that they'd imagined the movie. That's how far into obscurity it had fallen. But in 2007, I finally managed to track down a 35mm print to screen at my Noir City Film Festival. And even better, Joan Leslie, the film's star, agreed to appear at the screening. So imagine my chagrin when that print, which only arrived the day of the show, turned out to be a decomposing mess. Well, thanks to a collector pal with a 16mm copy, the show went on. But after that, I was determined to rescue the film from oblivion. And thanks to the Film Noir Foundation, the UCLA Film and Television Archive, and the Packard Institute for the Humanities, you now get to see repeat performance in its restored and resurrected glory. And soon, in cooperation with our colleagues at Flicker Alley, TCM, and Films Around the World, it will be available on Blu-ray and DVD. So here's the backstory of this unique movie. Eagle Lion Pictures was a British outfit owned by movie mogul J. Arthur Rank. In 1946, he created an American subsidiary by merging with Poverty Row Studio Producers Releasing Corporation, PRC. The idea was to make low-budget B movies to play on double bills with imported British films. Brian Foy, who'd managed Warner Brothers' B unit in the 1930s, was made head of production at Eagle Lion. And Foy marshaled some formidable producing talent for this modest operation. Aubrey Schenck, Walter Wanger, and Eddie Small were all innovative independent producers who joined the fold. Foy decided to get a bit more ambitious when Eagle Lion purchased the 1942 novel Repeat Performance, written by William O'Farrell. Initially, it was a package deal with French Otone to star and Gilda screenwriter Marion Parsonet to write and produce. Constance Dowling was set for the role of Sheila Page, but after small parts in a couple of films, including swell noirs like Black Angel and Blind Spot, Dowling became disillusioned with Hollywood and moved to Italy. Sylvia Sidney then agreed to the role, doing screen tests and signing off on Parsonet's script. Foy announced that Jules Dassin would direct. But in October of 1946, Brian Foy bought out Parsonet's interest in the film, which ended Franchetone's involvement as well. Aubrey Schenck was assigned to produce, and Foy replaced Jules Dassin with Alfred Werker. Meanwhile, Joan Leslie had taken Warner Brothers to court to get out of her contract, which she'd signed in 1942 when she was only 17. Leslie had been typed as a sweet ingenue, but now that she was legal, 21 years of age, she was itching to play grown women. And even before the courts granted her freedom from what she called indentured servitude to Warner's, Leslie signed with independent Nero Pictures to star opposite Robert Cummings in The Chase. But Warner Brothers got an injunction preventing her from doing that film, and she was replaced by French actress Michelle Morgan. Finally, in 1946, Leslie was released from her Warner's contract by a Superior Court decision. She signed a two-picture deal with Eagle Lion. and replaced Sylvia Sidney in repeat performance. Foy figured that all the hoopla surrounding Leslie would give the picture a boost, but it also meant bringing in writer Walter Bullock to completely retool the screenplay to fit the new star's image, which I'll explain after the movie.
Oh, Barney, I'm suddenly so happy. I don't remember being this happy before.
You'll get used to it.
Lewis Hayward was signed for the role of Sheila's husband, Barney Page. The South African actor had come to prominence in England as a protege of Noel Coward's, and after moving to Hollywood in the 1930s, his marriage to Ida Lupino raised his profile even further. But service with the Marines during World War II, which included filming the infamous Battle of Tarawa, left Hayward shell-shocked. After his homecoming, he was a different man, and he and Lupino became combatants, which, frankly, seemed to have influenced his portrayal of actor Barney Page. Repeat performance also marked the film debut of actor Richard Basehart, playing a poet with the odd name William Williams. It's a fine performance, but if he'd played the character as written in the book, it would have broken new ground in Hollywood. Explanation in about 90 minutes. Right now, Noir Alley is proud to present the TCM premiere of Repeat Performance. Unlike any other noir released at this time, Repeat Performance resembles an extended episode of The Twilight Zone. It even has the omniscient narrator, in this case voiced by actor John Ireland. Of course, the legendary TV series didn't start until 1959, so we'll just have to wonder if Rod Serling may have read William O'Farrell's novel when it was published in 1942. If he did, he read something significantly different than the film. In the book, the character who relives the previous year is acclaimed Broadway actor Barney Page, and his bête noire is his drunken shrew of a wife, Sheila. When Brian Foy decided to cast Joan Leslie in the film version, the roles were reversed. Either he didn't feel Leslie could play a mean, rotten character, or he felt the public didn't want to see this angelic youngster playing such a debauched character. It was a drastic change, going from 37-year-old Sylvia Sidney to 21-year-old Joan Leslie. And it necessitated many changes from the original story, in which Sheila goes blind after binge drinking a bottle of cologne and commits suicide, and Barney ends up killing his lover and co-star, Paula Costello. That's the crime he sought for at the start of the novel. The cops chase him into the subway and are about to open fire when into the breach steps Barney's pal, poet William and Mary Williams. As the shots are fired, time folds in on itself, and Barney starts reliving the previous year. And yes, I did say William and Mary, because in O'Farrell's novel, the poet is a transvestite. William when he's a male, Mary when he's cross-dressing. That's what earns him a stint in an asylum. It's not because he's racked with artistic anxiety. Like I said at the top, keeping the character as he was in the book would have been groundbreaking for a movie in 1947, but of course that was impossible due to the production code. The character is still unmistakably gay in Richard Basehart's performance, and although the picture's reworked denouement requires some leaps of logic, it's interesting that in both the book and film, it's the sensitive gay character who breaks out of the hospital to save the protagonist from the fateful space-time continuum in which they're trapped. Lots to unpack there for hardier souls than me.
Destiny's a stubborn old girl, Sheila. She doesn't like people interfering with her plans. But we tricked her, didn't we? Anyway, I don't think she cares about the pattern as long as the result is the same.
The producers were so thrilled with Basehart's work, they added a couple of scenes for him with Joan Leslie. Now, that may have been to bolster the motivation for his timely reappearance at the end of the picture. Who knows? But they thought enough of him to hold the film's world premiere in Basehart's hometown of Zanesville, Ohio, celebrating the Broadway actor's first film role. Basehart was actually afraid it might be his last, saying later that my first role was nearly my swan song. I played a weak, neurotic poet, and after it, nobody would cast me in a good romantic part. Well, that worry was short-lived. Basehart had a long career after this. In fact, One of his best early roles reunited him with director Alfred Werker. In 1948, he played the villain in Eagle Lion's He Walked by Night, which was a sleeper hit for the studio. It was crime films that essentially kept the studio afloat in the late 40s. Repeat performance and several other prestige productions underperformed for the company. But by contrast, low-budget pictures like T-Men, Raw Deal, Canyon City, He Walked by Night, and Trapped made dough for the studio and helped further the film noir movement in Hollywood. Now, I don't know what you thought of Louis Hayward in this film, but I hope you aren't as critical as the New York Times was. Its review of Repeat Performance called him the biggest slice of boiled ham since Charles Lawton. Ouch. My kudos go to the supporting cast, who seemed to be having a ball. As John Friday, Tom Conway was his usual smooth self, just a couple of notches down on the suave scale from his brother, George Sanders. Virginia Field, as Paula, fit right into the showbiz byplay, since she had a reputation for bad-mouthing co-stars. Allegedly, she called Loretta Young a phony and conked David O. Selznick with a wine decanter when she thought he made a pass at her. Stardom may have eluded her as a result, but she maintained a busy career for a few more decades. As Bess, Benet Venuta had the Eve Arden role, a one-woman Greek chorus who gets the best lines.
Bess, where did Bonnie go?
I don't know. Just look for a bottle of cognac. He'll be with it.
Venuta was born in San Francisco, and she was mainly a musical performer with dozens of Broadway shows to her credit. And then, of course, there's Natalie Schaefer, better known to millions of baby boomers as Mrs. Thurston J. Howell in the sitcom Gilligan's Island. She makes her character, Eloise Shaw, an amusing send-up of matrons of the arts. Not entirely far-fetched, either. Okay, that'll do it for this show and this year. I'm eager to hear what you thought of Repeat Performance, so give us your feedback on the Noir Alley Facebook page and Twitter feed. Next week, Noir Alley christens the new year with a perennial favorite. Unlike Repeat Performance, next week's movie has been on TCM many times, but this will be its debut on Noir Alley, and I'm eager to share some fun stuff about it. So join me for Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall co-starring in Raymond Chandler's The Big Sleep. Have a safe and happy New Year's, everybody. See you back here next week, provided we don't all have to live 2019 all over again. God forbid.